start out with some, like any ahas from diving into the spreadsheets or tackling those action items. And if you're in front of a computer and not driving and it's safe to turn your camera on, we'd love to see your faces. It creates a little bit more engagement for the entire group. We all show up a little bit differently when there's more people on screen. So come off mute and share. Let's share either a win from since our last call in terms of financial goals or tracking, or any ahas that you had from the action items.
Well, my disclosure, Stephanie, is that I was not on the call last time. I wanted to be, but I couldn't then. So I'm on today. So hopefully I can, learn and everything. But I do have the spreadsheet printed out, so I have that.
Awesome. We're happy to have you here, Robin, and we'll do our best always to send recordings too. Just
Great.
if you can't make it.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, let's hear another one.
I'll say I was on the meeting last time, and obviously the spreadsheet is like super helpful. So for the last, I don't know, 9 years, I've just been kind of winging it. So it was a good exercise to go through. I still have a lot more work to do, and there are definitely some questions, but having the spreadsheet and just for the expense spreadsheet or tab only is very helpful. So
That's great. So in the 9 years prior, what were you using to keep track of expenses or income?
Excel for sure. I created my own spreadsheet. So this is something that makes a little more sense. So
Awesome.
What was your understanding of cost of sales? Did you track those a lot or just expenses?
like say that again. Like, was I tracking my closings and
No, like your cost of sales. So like, yeah, your closings is your GCI, but then there's expenses, but then everything that happens in between those, like company dollar, referrals.
No, I was not tracking anything. It was mainly expenses. So I just
Okay.
knew, and I was doing it, in a panic in March to give to my accountant. So yes, I knew my income, and I'm a solo agent, so I don't have a lot of like costs, I guess, associated with the business other than company dollar, but just the tracking of the expenses portion is extremely helpful. So
Can I just say real quick, Catherine, can I have your dog then too? It's so sweet. I miss
he will sit there the whole time like that and not move. I know I was on a Zoom call recently, and they're like, is he alive? And is he a lab? He doesn't move. I'm like, no, he really doesn't. He's very happy back there.
I'll add something to the being able to, it's my daughter Mabel. We're at the airport, so sorry. I just did the first video, so that was super convenient how simplified Scott made it. Just to be able to put your data points in there. I mean, all you literally need is a goal for GCI, and then just copy and paste the percentages. So did not get a chance to take a deep dive, but hoping to over the next few months here. And I've always been pretty organized, so trying to figure out if what my spreadsheets I'm using, if they're working or not, or if there's a better one that can be used that's a little more manageable and easier to use and more user friendly.
Yeah, Ben shared his with me, so he's got his GCI goal up top, and then we can go over this too, and then he plugged in the percentages based on what the budget model says. So how much should he be spending in expenses, how much percentage in each of the 9 categories. So I've seen you've gotten to that point, and I know he watched the video because he shared it with me. He didn't ask for access of it. He did, you know, he's doing it right. So just chunking the video by video by video is very good. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, super easy. I appreciate you doing those. I did videos as well. So
Mhm. Awesome. Well, thanks to you guys for sharing just where you're at. It's always helpful for other people to hear. Scott, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I am I got another message about someone needing a code, so I'm just like frantically copying pasting Zoom links. So I don't know what's going on, but some people are needing codes.
Okay.
Just 1 second.
While you're doing that, I am with Robin. I didn't get to the first one, though I wanted to. Where can I find this spreadsheet?
Matt, have you received the emails from me just with action items and reminders about the call at
I
all?
don't think so.
Okay, give me your email address or throw it in the chat and I'll make sure you get them.
Yeah, I'll
Yep,
just put
I'll
it in
get
the chat.
you. Okay, awesome. And I will get you then the copy of like the recording from the first call so that you've got kind of a baseline understanding and there'll be a link to the spreadsheets. If anyone else on the call right now does not have them or haven't received those emails, just put your email in the chat and we'll make sure you get them.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Hey, Steph, is this being recorded yet? Or
Yes.
should we record? Okay, cool. All right, great. So, yeah, we can bounce back and forth on this. However, this is awesome to have a intro call because you guys can feel really comfortable sharing and asking any question that comes to mind. So you're not around the seasoned pros that have been doing this and you're like, I don't know if I should ask this question because, you know, I don't want them to laugh at me or whatever. Like we're all in the same boat together. And if you come to these every couple months or, you know, every month, and you're like, man, this is moving too slow for me, then you can see what the advanced one is like. But we've never done it this way, so I'm really excited for it. So Ben, I am going to share my screen and just show what your spreadsheet is so far, if that's okay.
okay.
I know you
Yeah.
got, yep, cool. So I'm gonna reference what Ben has done because I can teach through the spreadsheet. I think it's the easiest way to do it and the easiest way to accomplish it. I will make this bigger, so don't worry. So here. So when the first real steps to this, and we'll blend a good amount of teaching this on these masterminds, and also you can dive deep into things outside of the masterminds. But what Ben has done is he referenced a video series. And so this is the spreadsheet with all these tabs at the bottom. But when we look at the video series, there are 14 videos. Two of them are kind of bonuses. The first one is if you really want to have motivation to do this, if you're just like, man, I want to know my numbers, but gosh, it just sounds like it's a lot of work or a pain in the butt, or, you know, I'd rather like watch paint dry. Then maybe this first one is a good video. If you're already in the moment where you're like, you know what, I know I got to do this. I'm excited. Let's go, which is probably nobody. You can skip that one, but it's also only 4 minutes. So the next one is start here, and this one is more just about what the spreadsheet is and how the process works. When we get going on this, the goal is that you have your profit and loss filled out before this call. And so we are always a month behind. So if it's December 12th right now, we would be talking about November, or really we'd be talking about January through November. If it was December 12th of next year, we'd be able to see everything you've done from January to November. And the good part about this time of year is you can use the knowledge that you learned from today and you can fumble through November and you can like work some kinks out, and you can say, what, where would this go? What does this mean? How does this work? And when you're doing that, when we come again and meet again in January, we could be talking about some December stuff. But if you spend a little bit of time now working through November and working through December, when we meet in February, you're going to have January, and it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be you're going to get into a rhythm, because even for the biggest teams, like, or the people doing a lot with expenses or sales, this should take no more than 1 hour a month, like when you got the system going. And in 1 hour a month, you can know your numbers at an extremely high level.
Yeah, and I'll add that we started this group intentionally around this time of year to build up the muscle of learning the spreadsheets and start bringing this more top of mind intentionally, so that come February, you felt like you had a good runway to start learning, so that February we could really get a little bit deeper into this. So know that this was intentional to kind of start building up. So if you still feel a little behind or lost, that's okay. You are still in the right place. We've got room for you to build this muscle, and then we'll kind of really dive in February.
So this all starts with this with two visuals. And this is a model that's in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent 2, it's been updated. Now the book hasn't been updated, but the models have been updated. And so the first question, or like the basic understanding of all this, is who can tell me what is a chart of accounts? What is it? What does a chart of accounts mean?
Your different, your different expenses, your different categories, advertising, marketing, open house expenses, oh gosh, education, etc. That.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly what it is. So the chart of accounts is a fancy word for it. Now, you might also know of it as just a profit and loss, a P&L. But the reason why it's called a chart of accounts, and just so you guys know, I didn't know what this meant either, as a realtor. I learned this as I became an OP for KW, and learned how to do this for like a real business, even though we all have real businesses as realtors. But this was never anything I paid attention to. But a chart of accounts, the reason why it's called that is every category that Robin mentioned, open houses, advertising, they all have a number assigned to it, or like an account number, and they're chronological. And so it's really nice to look at. In this second tab here that I'm going to click on, this one hasn't been filled out yet, but you can see what a chart of account is. And at the end of the year, imagine this all being filled out, and you just print this off and just email the PDF version to your accountant. Or I shouldn't say at the end of the year, but come February or whatever, your life is just gonna be so you're gonna be so happy at that time. But the accounts are chronological, and the way they work is everything that has to do with giving you money, or income, it starts with a 4. Is this spreadsheet big enough for everyone? Can everyone see the words? Okay.
Yep.
So 4 is our friend. And we're just talking the charts, the accounts. So we got the big bucket is 4. Now in the big bucket, in this case, there's 4 smaller buckets, and it just starts out simply 1, 2, 3, or 4. So they can be chronological and make some sense as to what's going on. So in order to get you income, the first bucket deals with residential real estate. So that's either listing, buying, or leasing. So you're just looking at this from a macro level of what gives you income. Then a little bit smaller, the 4 different categories would be residential real estate, There's what we call a BAC, which is like that broker admin commission. It's the 295s or the 595s or whatever you would add on to the buyer or the seller deal. Some charge it, some don't, but that's a way to make income. The third bucket is through commercial income right here. And the fourth bucket is through outside referrals. So you could either get income from you give a deal to somebody in San Diego, and they, when you give a deal to someone in San Diego, the best part about that referral check is it's like a house for us. So like 25 of their check is like 100% of our check. Just an FYI, if you ever get a chance to send a referral to California. But you can make income through sending deals to agents outside of our area. And I don't really know of an example of making income from an outside company, but like it's there. We want every single thing to be here that can be here. And then there's just a couple more side categories of the next number here. So you got the second number is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the third number you'll see is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And it just simply made that if you're doing residential real estate, you can make money in listing, buying, or leasing, and so forth. So this is the simplest one to understand, but does this make sense as far as all the different ways you can make money through real estate? Are there?
What
So in the
what
leasing income, sorry.
Okay,
In
go
the
ahead.
leasing income sections, is that like if you have rental properties, or is that like if you are leasing for your like home, like for an office for your team or something?
So this would be for like if you work with a client that needs a rental, and
Oh,
it
I
could just
gotcha.
be called
Okay.
like
The
rentals.
client is getting the rental. Okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
So you're making that money. And it's a good point that Ben makes that I don't know if this was intent, but yes, you can make income from a lot of different ways. Like if you're an investor or if you are showing houses for other people, or you might make profit share. There's all these other ways to make money through real estate, but like the purpose of this is to know exactly what you're making just through your sales business, helping people buy and sell and rent homes. Do you want to add anything to that, Stephanie?
Yeah, I would just say, Ben, great question. And it's really just specific to income related to your real estate business. If you are someone who has a role, like maybe you're a showing agent and you do your own sales, perhaps then you add a new category for income that would be like um the whatever you would call it, like showing partner work. That's like if you have someone designated that you're always getting a portion of that deal from and you want to subcategorize that. But if you're, let's say, just showing a house from here and then, now and then for $25 per house or per hour. I don't know, Scott, would you include that income as a line item, or you just kind of keep that separate since it's not really anything to do with running your business?
I personally just keep it separate. And yeah, I just keep that kind of stuff separate because all this is working off percentages of your GCI. So I just
Yeah.
don't want things to scale um, in ways they shouldn't. And so if you're making $500 a month in profit share, the percentage of expenses to that income would be thrown off
Yeah.
because it's not based on your real estate income. It's based on your real estate income plus your profit share.
And then real quick, before we dig even further, just so we get a sense for who's in the room, who in the call right now, if you're on a team, could you just throw like a team in the chat, or I am, or something in the chat? Because I think one of the cool things about Scott and I working together is Scott helps and like leads a team, and I do as well, but I'm an agent on a team. And so when you're on a team, your expenses are going to be lower and your cost of sale might be a little bit larger. So like I see Brandon and Shawnee are responding that they're both on a team. Shawnee is the rainmaker. So her or her budget model is going to be very similar to the expenses on this chart. Brandon as the team's agent his are going to be a little bit different. So we'll continue to have that conversation, but just know as if you're on a team and your percentages seem different, I hear you and we'll be able to help navigate you through that.
Cool. So we started with the fun one, and then we go and we total down. Now this is very detailed because it's there's no other. Like, one of the goals of Gary Keller accounting is that there would be no other. And so everything that you can think of should be able to be on this spreadsheet. And there also is ways to edit it, which we don't need to get into right now. But I want to go through the same process through cost of sales. And cost of sales, this is where I struggle the most, and this is where most people struggle the most because it's not really talked about. And so everybody knows how much GCI they make, and everyone can multiply 3.6% of any number there is, or 2.4% of any number there is, just because that's what excites us. But there's a third piece of the puzzle. There's GCI, there's the expenses, and then there's these cost of sales. And this money is only comes out when you have a sale, number one. And it also, it's easily lost because if you're just tracking your business from your bank account, the money in your bank account and the money out of your bank account, you're missing this whole other side of the story. And when I was tasked to do a P&L from my MAPS coach, damn those MAPS coaches, it looked really good, but it wasn't tracking anything around my cost of sales. And that's where I was actually hurting the most. Because they don't teach you when you're starting to build a team or you're starting to grow, not even a team, just sell more. You might need more resources around getting those leads and having leverage. So same concept. You got everything starts with a 5 though, instead of a 4, so they can be in order. And then in this one, we've got 6 buckets or 5 buckets. And the first one is your residential. So if you have a buyer agent or a listing agent on your team, if there was $10,000 commission check and they made 5,000, then that would be a $5,000 cost of sale. Because you don't want to just put 5,000 in GCI because the GCI is the GCI. It's 10 grand. And then 5 of it goes to that agent. So then in the second category, this is everything to do with our company and what our company charges. So the second bucket starts with a 2, and then the first category starts with a 1, and that's your company dollar. So that's your split. And then everybody has a royalty. And then in our offices, and it's cool, number one, that we can say this out loud, meaning nobody has a side split, nobody has a separate deal. We all have the same royalty of $3,000. We all have the same cap of $24,000. If you're on a team, your cap is $8,000. So like, just know there's comfort that I can say this, and that's just a reality across our Milwaukee area. But on the listing side, we charge. I don't say we, like, don't blame me. Doesn't go to me. Keller Williams charges $295 on the when you close a listing, right? And so this is where that would go. Now, this is probably the most confusing part of all this is if you charged $295 and the company takes $295, it's easy to just say, I'm not going to write any of it. But what I encourage you to do is you would put $295 here, you would put $295 here, because now it's truly giving you what it takes to like a cost of sale for your business. The other thing is sometimes you might charge $595. So if you put $595 up here and $295 here, well, really you made $300. But I'd rather have you do it that way than write $300 and 0. Is that making sense? It's probably the number one question I get.
Yep.
And if you do a buyer BAC, our company charges nothing for the buying side. So if you did 595 on that, then you would put it all under income and you wouldn't have any under a cost of sale. The third category is these outside agents. So, and I mean that is if somebody from San Diego gives you a deal and you work with them and close them, you have to give them 25% or 20% or 30%. That's technically a cost of sale. And again, if you are just looking at your bank account, that money would already be out of there. It wouldn't, it's not like it goes to your bank account and you have to write a check to that agent. It's already done before you, or it's already done without you. And so this piece is every dollar associated with that commission is tracked and it's put somewhere. There's companies, the second one, there's companies that charge you commissions at closing. Does anyone use these aggregator companies, these league aggregator companies? And can anyone, if they use them, tell me what one of them might be? Or if they don't use them, do you know what one of them might be?
Redfin.
Redfin is one. And they take, I think, I don't know, let's just say they take 28%. What do they take?
30%.
So they take 30%. So GCI is 10 grand, 3 grand goes to Redfin, you get 7 grand. Out of that 7 grand comes company dollar, royalty, any splits, any things like that.
Mhm.
Do you know of any other companies that would fall under this? Not just you, just anyone.
Yeah, this would be any lead source that just charges you a referral fee versus like a monthly expense. So Shawnee just said Op City.
Perfect.
I think
We do-
is Home Light too.
Home Light is
Yeah.
one. Dave Ramsey is one.
Mhm.
There's probably 1,000. So you're either going to be charged up front or you're going to be charged at a closing. Now, which way do you think that company can get more money out of you? Up front or at closing?
Up front.
They can get more guaranteed money from you up front, but they can charge more on the closing
Oh,
because
okay.
they're taking the risk with you. So if you pay someone up front, it's uncomfortable, but you'll be able to pay way less, just in general. If you have a team and you have people like giving you referrals, and you have their license and everything, and it's in their agreement, maybe they get 10% or 20% or something, it would go in here. The fourth category is an ISA or an OSA, and these are people that book appointments for you. So an ISA would do inbound calls, or it's an inbound sales associate. So if you had multiple lead sources, like if you had your website leads and your sign leads and your home light leads and your realtor.com leads, and you had the same phone number for all of them and they went to the same person, and then that person books appointments based on those leads and scrubs out all the Donald Ducks and the goofies and the fake names and the BS, they typically get paid a percentage of that closing. If you don't have an ISA or OSA, that's fine. Just it's blank, but this spreadsheet is meant to be grown into. So then the fifth category is transaction management. And we have options through KW, and you might have your own, but a lot of the transaction management people would get like $100 a closing, $300 a closing, $400 a closing, and those wouldn't happen if there was no closing. So those aren't an expense because those are directly tied to the closing. And then the last category, these are like this is what's known as it's called client concessions, but I also call it like the oops. And maybe you want to include a home warranty in there, or I don't know if anyone's like me. One time I didn't write a washer and dryer in when it should have been, and like guess who bought the washer and dryer? I did. And so if that deal died, I wouldn't have had to buy the washer and dryer, but in order to get it to close, then that would have gone under this like other category. And hopefully by the end of the year, this other category isn't too much, because that's like you're kind of like either you're sloppy or you're way too nice and giving. But it's nice to know, like, oh my God, I spent $7,800 on this oops stuff. Like I should go to some contract training, or I should slow down a little because it's costing me real money. Anything
I'm
to add on that, Stephanie?
Yeah, I'm curious what the group thinks. Like, what benefit do you think you'd have by tracking this information? Like, how could this help you with your business planning or running your business?
I think, I mean, I think it would be tremendous because you now have a better focus on what your, you know, like you said, profit and loss, what your expenditures are, because I'll be honest, I track everything, but I don't have it at a moment's glance like this would be. Like to be able to look at everything and see everything right here, and then help with monthly expenses, or oh, I need to curb this, or I need to be more careful about that, or certainly um, need to pursue other listings or buyers or such. So I think for me that this is going to be very beneficial and helpful that way.
Awesome. Just to give you an example, too, exactly what Robin said is on point, and Nicole in the chat wrote, it's awareness and holding your expenses accountable, 100%. I wanted to share with you an example. I coach an agent in Florida, and in Florida, as you can imagine, there's a lot of incoming referrals, right? She has built a big agent network, and a lot of her business is from referrals from agents outside of Florida coming into her. And what happened was, because then on line 27, or 5-3100 outside agent referrals, she was taking her gross commission income, 25% was coming off the top in nearly almost every transaction. So while she felt like she was winning from a GCI standpoint, what she realized by us digging into her expenses was that a good portion of her income was disappearing before she even really got to cash her check. And so she needed to close more on that referral-based business to net what she really wanted to net. And if we were just focused on gross commission income, she would think she's winning. And yet at the end of the year, look at her bank accounts and feel like, where did everything go? Right? So this is where getting intentional and a little bit more detailed can help you dig into your business at a higher level.
Love that. If you've ever missed a sock from your laundry and you wondered, like, you put two socks in and one sock came out, you know the feeling of like, where the hell did all my money go? The sock is the cost of sale. And so that is the best way I can put it, because most realtors, even though they make more, they'll just increase their lifestyle and they'll spend more. Or they say, I got to make more now. So now they're buying other lead sources and they're giving that money away. And it's not about the GCI, it's about the net profit that you can fund your life with.
Yeah.
Now, the expenses, there's a lot more. And I think the easiest way to say expenses is it's the same amount of categories, the same amount of detail as the others. They all start with a 6, and the the main 4 are at the top. So you've got salaries and payroll. It's everything to do with your people. So if you don't have any people, well, then obviously this one's 0. And for someone like Ben, where his goal for the year is 147, and he put in these categories, he put in these percentage amounts based on the sheet I'm going to show you in a second. Now he may not have any team member, but like this is what he's basing it off of. So if it's 7.8 and he's actually a 0 at the end of the year, um, then this will be green. So everything underneath the target amount is at or underneath is green. And if he ends up buying or like hiring an admin or hiring someone and he makes 100 grand and he spends, 50 grand on this admin, well, now this would be like 50%. And we'd say, Ben, like you may not need a $50,000 admin making $100,000 for yourself because you're going to have other things coming out too. So the second category is lead generation. And what I find most about lead generation is that this is where we're underspending, actually. And there's no way to know this, but the model says to put 11.2% of your income towards lead gen at Ben's example. And we might go through June and it's like, oh, I'm only spending like 3%. I feel like I'm spending a lot, but I'm only spending like 3% of my income. And we're not here to tell you to go spend more money, but we are here to tell you, is there a way that you could invest money, $1 and make $4 or $5, or invest $1 and make $10? Like you should do that all day, every day. And so there is sometimes like when you hear budget, you might cringe and say, oh no, someone's just going to tell me not to spend money and it's going to be punitive. Well, sometimes you might come on these and be like, hey, I want you to spend more money. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I wish my spouse said that to me. They always yell at me. So it's agnostic here, if that makes sense. The third category is under occupancy, and that has to do with anything space related. So if you're renting space, if you have utilities, if you not utilities, if you have like heat, you have internet, all that stuff would go towards occupancy. The fourth category is on education and coaching, and 5% of your income. The number one asset you have is your mind. And what are you doing to learn and grow and do that? Because you might think, oh, I don't need that. I'm good. I have no need to learn anything. It's like it's kind of the same thing as saying I don't need to spend any money on my database. I don't have to give them anything of value. I don't need to do anything. Well, it would work. I mean, but it's not going to be the best investment for you. The last five are supplies, which it's vast. We'll go into a little more detail. Communication and technology, things like cell phones and your dialers and your email drip campaigns and your websites and all those things. Your automobile is a little bit of a tricky one. We want this to be an actual log of what you spend money on. We don't, it's not intended to be like what you would give to your accountant, meaning, hey, I did this many miles and I get 71 cents a mile. So this is my deduction. What's intended from the automobile is this is what it costs me to do, if you need an automobile, which you do, and you want to say like, I use my, I drive 1,000 miles a month and 700 of them are for real estate and 300 of them are for personal. Well, like the easiest thing to do if you wanted to track it that way and like write it off is, well, um, 70% of your bill, or like 70 when you go get gas. Like I would want you to track your actual expenses under automobile, if you want to know what like it takes to do your business. Do you have thoughts on that, Stephanie, of what you've heard?
Yeah, so I've taken a few classes with Jeannie Osnes, who's like the financial guru and teaches Profit Camp, and she always says for automobile, it's not where your car payment goes unless your car payment is that payment is run through the business, meaning I have an LLC, and if the car was in my LLC's name, then it would go here. But if it's not, it doesn't. And this could be other expenses related to that. Maybe it's gas or car wash or whatever it might be. Talk to your accountant about it. Just whatever you do it consistently. But if you start throwing your car payment in here, you see it's 1.8%. That could throw your numbers off. So again, if to Scott's point, like you kind of make these what they are. It's different from what our accountant wants. Typically, you'll have two P&Ls. One, what does it take to run your business? And two, what does it take to reduce your income to pay fewer taxes, right? So just know from what they're teaching at MAPS, it would not be your car payment unless your business owns that car or has that lease in its name. And then
And
real quick,
you don't have, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna just really quick go up to communication technology. Kind of same thing applies here. If you have a family plan and you're paying for like 5 lines, this would be your line. So figure out what that cost would be and run it through your line. If you're really trying to understand your business numbers, like this wouldn't be, your 3 teenagers lines as well, unless they're working for you in the business.
And you don't have to do two P&Ls. Like you can give them this P&L and your accountant can rework the numbers according.
Yes, thank you for
Yep.
clarifying.
And so your goal is to get, hey, this is exactly what my business makes me. And then their job, the accountant's job, is to say, how few taxes can you pay? And they might tell you to change things on this, and you'll have to push back and say, no, like this is what it actually takes. And you then rework it and do your magic because you can make real business decisions with this. You can't make real business decisions with your final number from your accountant. The only goal of that is to just save you money from your taxes. Last two, equipment, and then we've got legal and insurance. And so you can just see the minuscule amount of this. So he's gonna spend like 30, or he said 38%, and that's how they all add up. Now, I want to show this sheet quick again, the reference, and then kind of get you into where you can go find some of this stuff. And so for this sheet, this is where Ben looked at and he said, "Oh, I'm going to make 147." And you see he wrote 13% for his cost of sale number and 38% for his expense number. He just pulled that right from here, 13%, 38%. So a model is something you can follow without having to think about it. It's already been invented. KW has analyzed 400,000, plus P&Ls over 40 years, and these are what they find for the different categories. And if you look at, okay, what am I spending 38% on? Then you go over here under the 150 category and it says, oh, you could spend 7.8 on salaries and benefits. You could spend 11.2 on lead generation. And the first step that Ben did is he put in 7.8, 11.2. He put in all those numbers. Now he has like that guideline basis. There is no breakdown for cost of sales in the MREA2. This is unique to like this transaction or this spreadsheet because I don't think it's enough to just say, oh, I had this percentage cost of sale when you can break it down into 6 categories and subcategories and you can see where that is actually, where it's actually hitting the most. And lastly, I'm gonna just show you the extent of the expenses because in each of those categories, you might have, you've got your database for lead gen, you've got your branding, and then there's lead gen lever 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. These are meant to be edited to you. So if a lead gen lever is what we talked about in the beginning. Open houses, you might spend a lot of money on like mailers or just listed, just sold. You would go in and you could change this to mirror your business and what you spend your money on. the one question I have for you is under listing costs. So why would listing costs be an expense and not a cost of sale? So if to like list a home, get a yard sign, advertise it, why is that an expense?
Because you do those things even if it doesn't sell.
Are you telling me that listings don't sell?
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Okay. It's a foreign concept, but I mean, yeah, in a normalized market, you list homes, they sit for 6 months. This sign swings in the wind, you spend $1,000 and it doesn't sell. So they can't be considered a cost of sale because you're doing it regardless. That's exactly right. So when I print this, and I would just, I have instructions on this, but if you make the margins a little narrow, like this is the actual sheet that you can save as a PDF, and then you can email it off to them. And it's all there for them. So I mean, that's an in-depth view of the chart of accounts. So are there questions around that? Because that's the foundation of everything.
I have a quick question. You showed the budget model reference page. Can you
Yeah.
can you just go
Yep.
to that quick?
Sure can.
So you'll see, I mean, obviously in our market, we're different because we all pay the 24 and the 3.
Yep.
So the lowest number at 150, which is about what I am at and have been, it doesn't cover that, right?
Yep.
So would we, I mean, I'm always going to be in the red, I guess, if I
Yeah.
stay at that. Would I try to obviously reduce, like, does that come out of my expenses then probably, or?
It's a great question because um I have two answers, and Stephanie, you might have an answer, but like when I say to like just get going and it's like I don't know what to put anywhere, it's like, okay, here's your number, like have at it. Don't think too much about it, right?
Yeah,
13%. But the reality is, like if you cap, it's going to be 27,000, 24 plus
yeah,
3.
yeah.
So if you feel comfortable with that, then I would say like what's your GCI goal?
For next year, 170.
Okay. So 27,000
So
divided
cost of
by,
sale, you must have said something different at the last meeting because then now I have 22% in my yellow. So where did I get that from?
Um,
Maybe you said 22%, or did I? Because in my spreadsheet that I made in column C or cell C like 6 or whatever on the budget
yep,
actual. Yeah,
right
I
here.
have 22 and 36. And I wonder, did you say that last meeting? Because where would I have pulled that from?
I might have said it like, because there's a lot of different things you could put in there, and
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't based on like your GCI goal. Maybe it was one of these others, or
Or
maybe it was
maybe I took a
someone
combination of the 26 and 13, but yeah, so I plugged in 22. Regardless, I'm still high on that. Like,
yeah, you'll
I
get
had a couple referrals and I capped and then had a couple other things. I'm already at 25%. So, okay, that's fine. So it's not 13 though, if you're around the 150.
Yeah. And from a ease standpoint, I would just say put the number there, let it be read, be okay with it.
Okay.
If you want to be like really if you want to take that to like, hey, this is what I want to stay under, um, it's about 16% would just be that 27. And then you have, like you said, referral fees, and you have BAC, some stuff. So yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
might be closer to 25. And
So 25 is, yeah, okay.
if you put 25 here, if you put 20, so he's going to net 49%. If you put 25 here, then obviously he's going to net, like now it'd be 37. Now,
Yeah.
every one of you runs your own business. And if you say like, hey, I'm good with netting 37%, which by the way, the budget model is 40, um, then you would keep it. If you're not good with that, then you would have to be like, all right, where am I gonna like try to cut
Mhm.
from this? But that's a little more advanced, which you can for sure do. It's just um when we fill this out, these cells over here will be red and green. I'll show you mine, like it's red and green.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
can see like at a glance, and then you start to like make decisions based off of that.
yeah,
I just want to acknowledge, like, because you even asked that question, that means that you're learning this and you're growing. So, like, that's amazing that you've asked that and noticed that. That's really cool. And
yeah.
to
I
Scott's
mean, my
point,
expenses, like Scott was saying, my lead gen percent is like very nominal. So I have, some ground to make up there. So my expenses are on the low end in terms of how this works into the spreadsheet, but
yeah, and it's all what works for you. This model is a guardrail. And some of you may choose to go outside of those bumpers, right? Those guardrails. And as long as you're okay with it and doing it intentionally, that's a different story than doing it unintentionally and not understanding. Like I have a client that I coach who runs a very great budget model, P&L every month, and her salaries are higher than the budget model shares. Her sister is her admin. And she's like, I am okay paying more than what the budget model states because I love my sister and she does amazing work. And this is what I believe that she's worth. And so we just make adjustments elsewhere. So it's okay. Um, as we kind of wrap up, I wanted to just share, like, I know today was a little repetitive from what we did last time. It's just because we're building. If today was very basic for you, know that we're going to continue to build. We just really want to, brick by brick. If today was on the right pace, great. If you're feeling a little behind, we'll send the recording and we can watch this again. I wanted to show, Scott, should I share where they can find this information, the income and DAs at least?
Yeah.
Okay. When we talked the first two categories of the income and the cost of sale, it's really easy to find on your DA, which is your disbursement authorization. Have you guys seen those for your closings? Okay, they used to put them in your mailbox, which was amazing, and now they're all just digital because we don't need paper anymore. So they're all in command. So I just wanted to show you. I just pulled a recent one for mine that I closed on that has a cap that has like contributions to the cap, right? So to find them, let me just get out of here. You go to opportunities. Then if you're on a team, click all opportunities. If you're not, it'll just have them up by your name. Search for the property you're looking for. Oh, address would help. Just click that. Then all of your documents will be under documents. All of your, like the documents you submit for review from the broker are going to be under this under contract. Go to closed. And then your DA will be there along with the closing statement. So I'm just going to click on this. Now I'm on a team, so you're going to see more pages and numbers than if you're not, but someone like Brandon, he's going to see something very similar to mine. So you know how Scott said at the beginning, when we log the commission, so this is a buyer sale, you can see that right here. We want to log the total commission. Even though that didn't come into your bank account, we want to bring in that total commission. And you see that right at the top, commission. Okay, so the total commission on this closing was 10,000 and change. I'm Pemberley Gray. I have an LLC, so that's me. So you see that even though what only came into my bank account was 2,500, part of that is because, well, I had to pay towards cap. I paid my team split. I paid my showing partner, right? And then everyone got their own piece, right? So that's why it's amazing when you cap because there's so much less. So essentially then you scroll down to the more detailed page. So this is mine. There's my name. So again, it was that 10,000 and change. Then what came to me was after I paid my 10%, I paid to my showing partner, I paid my split to the team. 4,041.60. So what I would do is under cost of sale, I would put my royalty as 242.49. Where would my company dollar go?
For the cost of sale.
Yep. How about if I paid my team a split? Where do I categorize that on Scott's chart?
The
Thought I
cost
saw
of-
something that said commission split, right?
Yep, team commission splits under cost of sale. And then I would probably add, I could do the same thing for my showing partner. I could put it under team commission split, or I could add a category so I knew exactly how much I was giving her per month or per year too. And then, so you've got your cap, your company dollar, any team splits. If you're an agent who has a team, right, your team split would go toward that listing or buyer specialist. If you donated to KW Cares, that would show up on here and that would be under one of the expenses. So just know that everything on this CA is going to have a place for you in that chart. Any questions about that?
Sorry, you guys doing that. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. For people that haven't been working there a full year yet, I guess what would be the best way to kind of start plugging in numbers, or should I just, I mean, I've had a handful or a couple transactions, so I'm just trying to figure out how, should I just start my numbers in September, from last year and then kind of move forward so I can actually maybe at least have a quarter of numbers to work with and go off of, or is it really not worth it and just wait for a full year to really start, or just kind of start filling in as we go and just see where we're at?
So you
I'd prefer
started
you did like November and December. I would prefer you start a couple this year and like get the kinks out.
Yeah, I would, like Scott said, start with your November numbers now. If you have time to go back to September, if that's when you started in KW, then great. Then you've got all of your numbers to give to your accountant come January when you do your taxes. And yet, if you've got another system for this year, just start with November numbers, then December, and get used to the chart.
I can do that for you. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. All right, so
Sorry.
an hour goes fast. Scott and I are like, okay. So if you'd like to stay on for the advanced call, we're gonna let those people in. If you want to understand what kind of conversations we're having with the different group, you're more than welcome to. Know that again, we're gonna just kind of keep building with the intention that you guys are creating your financial goals for next year, still working on separating any banking accounts, and just starting to plug numbers with November and December into these charts. And our first real deep dive, Scott, would that be in November or February then into these?
Yeah, I mean we'll see where we're at. I mean if Ben or someone comes with a month's worth, like ideally we'd love to share that with the group. And there's no better way to learn than by sharing like a real life scenario. So that's what the advanced one looks like, is we all come with it filled out, we share it. You don't have to share, like, but if you choose, you get a lot of different opinions and ideas, and it's like free coaching. So we'll see where you guys are at, but I encourage you to watch the videos, um, and dive in there.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys. So if you want to stay on, great. If not, feel free to bounce off the call and we'll see you in January.